it is Child Protection Week, so let's take the conversation further. I am joined by someone that we have spoken to recently on the show, and it's Tshilidzi Mufunwaini, who is the mother of a child that has been missing since 2022, a 9-year-old child. Thank you for coming through and for allowing us to continue this conversation, because until the case is solved, we should remain seized with it. And I should say that, you know, your child is one of the at least 3,000 children that we are told have gone missing in the last 5 years. Tell me where things stand. A few weeks ago, we spoke to you. You've been interacting with the police, trying to get further assistance. What have you heard?
There's no process at all. I went to the IPD last week, and then they told me to go to the civilian. When I go there, apparently I don't have a case at all. There's no case number. The DNA, the clothes for my daughter is not submitted.
Did you open a case?
Yes, I opened a case.
At which police station?
Toando police station.
And you were issued a case number?
No.
You were not given a case number?
Yes.
So clearly something went wrong, eh?
Yes, because even there, I was trying to look at the DNA. Yeah, so they told me there's no way that they can check for my DNA because there's no case number. So there's no way that the lab received the clothes. Yes. So
at no point were you issued with a case number from the Toyando police station in 2022. So you can't go to any police station and say, this is the case number that I received from the police. So that's the difficulty that you're running into now. Yeah, I only have an inquiry number. So they say they can't do anything with the inquiry number. Sure. Wow. That is scary. I'll come back to you in a moment. I want to introduce someone else into the conversation. I believe we have Vernon Vraagom, who is from Saldanha Bay community. And part of the reason we're talking to Vernon is that there was that sentencing, of course, that happened last week in the case of Jocelyn Smith, who disappeared last year while she was 6 years old. Her mother and 2 other people found guilty and sentenced. Vernon, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. So let's talk a bit about that case, the Jocelyn Smith case. As I was saying to the mother in studio here at Tshilidzi, that we're talking about some 3,000 children having gone missing in the last 5 years. You as a community were quite involved in ensuring that some semblance of justice is done, in this case at least, of Jocelyn Smith. Just your own overall sentiment as a community in Saldanha Bay, how important it was for you that this case is investigated properly and prosecuted properly with the outcome that we are now seeing.
Yes, thank you for having me. Yes, we as a community, you know, it's even though the 3 accused were sentenced, it's a bittersweet. It was a bittersweet time for us. At least the culprits got what they deserved. At the end of the day, our child is still missing, and yeah, we need to work around that and see what we as a community can do, and still keep searching, keep looking for little Jocelyn.
And tell me about what it is about this case, Vernon, that struck a chord with the community. The community is one that faces many socio-economic challenges, and I suppose we can talk to those. And in fact, during the case, many of those came to the fore. The issue of child protection, the levels of unemployment in that community, but also issues of drug abuse also came to the fore. So why did this matter strike a chord with you as a community?
You know, it's I think it's the fact that Jocelyn didn't just disappear, but the fact that she was sold by her mother and the 2 other accused, you know, that I think that was the most terrifying for us as a community. So I think that is,
my camera is on.
Sorry, please go ahead, Vernon.
Where somebody like a mother is selling a child, you know, when it comes to to being a mother, supposed to care for your child. But she sold the child, and that really hit us as the community.
I want to bring in someone whose identity we're not revealing. This is a private investigator, and we've decided to go with the pseudonym of Tshilidzi. And the reason we do that is because, obviously, for professional reasons, it becomes difficult if you're going to be a private investigator and, your identity is well known. So do bear with us on that. Tshilidzi, good afternoon. Tell me about the ease or difficulty of investigating the case of a missing child. I sit in studio this afternoon with the mother of a child who's been missing since 2022. How important is time in terms of reporting the case, and what are some of the key factors we should be aware of that may assist in an investigation into a missing child?
Good afternoon, everyone in studio, and this is not at home. So thank you for having me. First and foremost, I need to make people aware that there's no...
Yeah. Tshilidzi, may I ask that you find a quiet spot for us to continue with the conversation? It's simply not, the quality of the line doesn't do justice to the conversation that we are seeking to have. Let me come back to Tshilidzi in studio. So, Tshilidzi, you going to IPID, for me, at least the way I read it, speaks to your desperation for any answers, because IPID only deals with cases where the police themselves are involved or accused of a crime. Am I correct in reading that you are reaching a point where you're desperate and you don't know what to do and you're just knocking at any door that has to do with the police?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to knock at every door. Even Tshilidzi, the one you were talking to, I tried. Yeah, so I'm trying everything so that I can find my child. But then with the police, there's no luck.
What is your child's name? And just tell us a bit about the child.
She's Fiona Matodzi.
Yeah.
She was 9.
And the circumstances, how did she go missing? Just remind our viewers.
She just went to school and then she never came back. Other kids who walked to school with her, where she school, it's near our home. So she walked. So she went to school, and then other kids said the car came and someone called her in that car, and then that's how she left.
Wow, so she may have gotten into a car.
I don't know.
Yeah, but that's what the other kids are saying.
Yes.
All right. I believe we have Tshilidzi on a better line. Tshilidzi, let's pick up the conversation. I was asking you about the ease or difficulty. What are some of the immediate factors that our viewers should be aware of that may assist in investigating the case of a missing child? As I say, we are told by statistics that at least 3,000 children have gone missing in the last 5 years.
Good afternoon, everyone in studio, and good afternoon to the listeners at home. So, to get on with the conversation, first, let me make the people aware that there's no waiting period to report a missing person, especially not a child. From the time you suspect your child could be missing, or any other person for that matter, you to the police and open up a case.
And how difficult is it? Where do you even begin? I mean, for instance, in the case of Tshilidzi, in the case of Tshilidzi, and I'm saying in the case of Tshilidzi and the missing child, Fiona, how difficult is it? Where do you even begin in conducting your investigations? What are some of the clues that parents should immediately pick up and share with both the police and other people such as yourself, who is a private investigator?
Okay, so with a child, remember kids are very delicate, and then most kids do not have cell phones or any. So from the time you get reports that your child could be missing, you rush to the police, you put on social media as much as you can, and then you listen to each and every. You know, there's this thing in African tradition that kids do not lie. So whatever the friends of that child tell you, listen to it, and then we need to follow up on it. And then on the case of Tshilidzi, it's very much painful, and it makes it difficult because the kids that are said to have been with her, or rather that have an idea, it's young kids, and I'm not sure if the police had investigated thoroughly with the kids and the parents of those kids. Sometimes it's important to interview the parents of the kids that are saying, no, we did see Tshilidzi sometime with her prior to her being missing.
All right, let me welcome into the conversation Karl Muller, who is the Chief Programs Officer at the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me. In fact, we also have Samukelisiwe Mthembu, who is a clinical psychologist, also joining the conversation. But let me put this question to you, Karl. The fact that we are talking about missing children, and I sit in studio with the mother of a child who was 9 years old in 2022 when she went missing. We are also talking recently after the conviction and sentencing of those involved in the disappearance of Jocelyn Smith. Just broadly, where does that leave the conversation around the rights that children are entitled to in terms of the Constitution, whether or not as a society we continue to live up to that, or doing our best to live up to those promises of the Constitution?
Good afternoon, Tshilidzi. Thank you very much for the opportunity. We certainly hope and wish the return of the child in question. Our view as the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund is really this exposes a lack of priority on children's issues in our country, and also a lack of resources towards children's issues in our country. As a society, we need to be cognizant of children and their rights. Children are human beings like all of us, and therefore children's rights are human rights. And in this Child Protection Week especially, we need to understand how child safeguarding and protection works, and how we as a community have a joint responsibility to look after our most valuable assets, which is our children.
Yeah. Samukelisiwe, let me bring you into the conversation. We talk, I mean, the statistics vary, but the latest that I saw was about 42% of children being exposed to violence in various contexts. And the disappearance of children, you know, perhaps on a scale, falls within that because it is a violation of the child. Just in terms of the damage done, the psyche of growing up as a child in South Africa in the context that we are describing.
Yes, thank you for the invite, and hello to all viewers. It is quite concerning, but as we all know, living in a third world country, very under-resourced, resources available to us, and also just having been a people that are still recovering from abuse ourselves, from the apartheid regime, inequality that has. These factors are not outside of the trauma kids experience, and until bigger social issues are addressed, people continue to manage an environment.
Yeah, Samukelisiwe, we are battling with your line, I must say. So let me come back to you, Karl, and just ask you, the experience of Tshilidzi, who is in studio with me. She says she went to the police, they did an inquiry number, they gave her an inquiry number, but not a case number. Without you talking to her specific case, how common is it that aspects of the criminal justice system don't handle these cases as properly as they should, or some would say as properly as they did in the case, for instance, of Jocelyn Smith?
Yeah, we believe that it is more prevalent than we would like it to be. There is very little data on this kind of underreporting, and hence it is an underreporting issue. Our question that we ask ourselves internally for every Jocelyn Smith, for every child that makes the headlines, you know, little Ditebogo as well, whose passing was very unfortunate. There may be 5 to 10 others that we are not aware of. And it speaks to, firstly, Tshilidzi, where the resourcing and the training within our justice system, where we know there are many good people doing many good things, but it's still under-resourced. It speaks to our societal view on children, you know, that children should be seen and not heard, or that children are troublemakers, or that children's issues are not as important as adult issues. So it also then speaks to where the lack of safe spaces and the lack of child-friendly spaces in societies, many of the communities where children are exposed, there's lack of play areas, lack of safe houses, lack of community policing, high prevalence of crime and inequality, and these things all play a role.
Yeah, and Vernon, just as a final word then, from your side, what key takeouts and lessons did you get from the experience of Jocelyn Smith and the trial that has gone through? How different does it leave the community now after having gone through that experience?
I think the community has learned a lesson for now, and that is, your child is my child. We must look out for each other's children, and even more, not just look after, but be there for our children. As a parent, be there 24/7.
Yeah, and then let me end it in studio with you, Tshilidzi. Let me give you the opportunity. If you can face the camera, not me, look into the camera, this camera here, and speak directly to the powers that be in this country about your child, what you are feeling, and what you would like to see done to assist you in this situation. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to see justice. I want my child to be found, because if we allow this to happen, it could happen. Tomorrow it will be your child. Tomorrow it could be anyone. So I think it's better if I get assistance and I know what happened to my child. Even if they're saying she's normal, but I just want to know where my child is. That's all.
That's not too much to ask. Thank you for coming through, and thank you for your generosity. It can't be easy resuscitating and talking about this, but it is important work that we all have to put in, and where we can, we should be able to assist you. That's Tshilidzi Mufunwaini, the mother of a child, Fiona, who's been missing since 2022. We were also joined by Karl Muller from the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, Vernon Vraagom, who is a Saldanha Bay community member, as well as Samukelisiwe Mthembu, a clinical psychologist and a private investigator that we decided we were not going to name for professional reasons.